I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. And today I'm going to talk about pets. I kind of was inspired this week by my boss who lost her beloved dog Bruiser, and it makes me realize how much our fur babies are not just pets, they are just part of the family. And I also, a friend of mine lost his beloved dog on Christmas Eve a couple weeks ago, both of which made me cry. And I had some great and unusual pets in my lifetime, but I love them all still, even though they're no longer with me. But they sure are a part of my memories. And I'm going to take a break, and I will talk about some of the great pets I've had in my lifetime and my current pets, my beloved cats. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. I'll be right back. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. And today, I'm going to talk about all the fur babies I've had in my life, whether it be dogs, cats, ducks, fish, whatever we had. We've had a lot in my family, and by myself, I've currently got 7 cats, and they're the love of my lives, the lives of my love, whatever, the love of my life. Okay. Something like that. I love my cats. How about that? But anyway, I came into this world in 1966, and we had a dog named Gypsy. And that was my sister Connie's dog, actually. And she was a Cocker Spaniel, and she was an outside dog. My dad didn't really like animals in the house. That was something he didn't care for. So Gypsy stayed outside, and I know by today's standards that's cruel, but that's the life she led, and she seemed to like it that way. Early on, she was already a few years old when I was born, and as I grew older, she grew older, and she was quite old by the time I was old enough to really remember her. She was blind and kind of pitiful, but she was the sweetest dog, and my mom had to trim her and wash her quite often, because she's always getting into something. I really think Cocker Spaniels really are indoor dogs because they're long-haired. But that's just me. I didn't know any better back then. But she was a sweetheart. Ended up having to have her put down because she got old and sick, and my dad didn't want her to suffer anymore. So I do remember that's my first memory of a pet. I think my sister said we had a cat named Midnight, a black cat. I don't know if that was when I was born or before I was born. I do not remember Midnight, but my sister Cindy always talked about Midnight. Now, the first pet I remember was not a dog or a cat. It was a duck. And my dad got us a duck in the Easter of 1971, I believe, and as a duckling. And my sister Lori had a pet duck named Chi-Chi before I was born, I believe. So my sister wanted to name this one Chi-Chi as well. And so we named it Chi-Chi. And at first we kept him in the house. And my sisters made him a little box with a bed in it, a little house. And he slept in it. And he was the cutest little duckling. And who has a house duck? We did. Oddly enough, my dad let the duck in the house, but let the dog in the house. But when he was old enough, my dad decided he needed to go outside, and we had a tin wash tub that we'd fill with water and let him swim in it. And he had the life of Riley out there in the yard. My dad built him a house, and he had the run of the whole yard, which was fenced in. And he grew pretty quick. As a matter of fact, he grew to a size bigger than me at the time. I was 4 and 5 years old. And also he grew mean. He loved my sister Cindy. He did not hurt my sister Cindy. He cuddled with her. She loved that duck. He loved her. However, he did not like me. And I guess, as I grew older and realized sometimes animals don't like kids. And I was his size. So he would chase me and with those wings flapping and his beak was pretty strong. So we had a playhouse in the yard, and you couldn't access it unless you went inside the pen. So my sisters would carry me because he would try to attack me every time. An attack duck, yeah. So I didn't hate the duck, oddly enough. I thought he was cute, and I just was scared of him, but I didn't hate him. And because I love animals, I've had a love for animals since I was a little kid. So one day he pecked me, almost hit my eye. And we had him for a couple of years, and he was kind of mean to me. And my dad started to feel sorry for him. He thought maybe he would do better in the wild, or better. There was a local park in a nearby town, West Frankfort Park, that had a duck pond and had ducks in it. And my dad decided, and we kind of agreed, that maybe Chi-Chi needed to go to the duck pond and live. So we packed a picnic lunch, and we put Chi-Chi in a box, and he was all excited about being in the car. He really thought he was a dog. And we get out there, and we let him loose, and he goes and swims in the pond, and he'd come running up with us to eat. And we'd feed him bread, and we'd lead him out to the pond again, and he'd follow us. Oh, God, I still remember this. It hurts me to think this. And he kept following us, and he was really visibly upset when he thought we were leaving him. And we got in the car, and he was waiting out the car. So we changed our mind and loaded him back up and took him back home. We just couldn't do it. Not one of us. We were all crying. And he grew up and became kind of a famous local attraction for the neighborhood kids. A lot of people remember. A lot of them thought he was a goose, but he was a duck. A lot of people remember Chi-Chi. They'd all come up and feed him, and he actually loved kids. As I grew older, he became gentler with me. But my sister Cindy, she still had a touch with that duck like you never saw with a human being. He loved her immensely. We have home movies of how he used to get inside her coat, and it was adorable, actually. He was quite the pet. I mean, he would, when we came home from school, we'd walk around the corner. He was all excited. He was like a dog. He would quack. He had this little weird quack. It was almost a whispery crack. It was like quack, quack, quack. And I'm not kidding. That's the way he sounded. And we think he swallowed something and it damaged his quacker, or whatever you want to call it. His quacker. But, he had that weird little distinctive quack. Most ducks are like, wah, wah, wah. Yeah, he had a whispery quack. But he lived all the way through my childhood. And unfortunately, the winter of 1983 was really brutal. I turned 17 that year. And I turned 17 on December 21st. And on Christmas, we'd had a big snowstorm. It was one of those white Christmases. And unfortunately, Chi-Chi froze to death after he spent many winters outside. It wasn't harmful to him. He was kept quite warm in his little duck house. But we found him frozen on Christmas Day in 1983. And, oh Lord, it was a tragedy. That was one of the worst Christmases I can remember in my childhood. He had passed away, and we were actually crying through Christmas dinner. Of course, my sister said the infamous, we're like squalling, and my sister Cindy, in all earnest, said, I'll never be able to look another duck in the face again. And through tears, we were laughing at that. And that's just something I still tease her about, even though we were sad. But my kooky family, we find laughter in sadness. But I'll never be able to look another duck in the face again. Yeah, and Chi-Chi just was a crazy duck. We could feed him, speaking of the holidays, we could give him a plate of turkey and he'd eat it. So he was a cannibal duck, which is kind of gross, but he didn't know any better. He liked it. That's kind of weird, isn't it? But in the meantime, my other animal that I had, we had several strays. I should backtrack before I introduce my dog Barney. Um, Mostly we adopted strays, and we had several strays in the time from 1971 where we had Chi Chi to the time we got Barney in 1978. We had, hopefully I can remember all these. Um, we had, let's see, trying to go back. I've got a pretty good memory, but still, early childhood is it's kind of like a torn photograph album in my brain. It's like little bits and flashes and pieces of not sure when things were. But we had two strays named Brownie and Tippy, who were best buddies. Tippy was this little doggy. She was so cute. And Brownie was this brown mongrel, beautiful tan brown color, actually. And they were inseparable. They loved each other. They slept together. They played together. Brownie was a bigger dog. Tippy was a little dog. They were best friends. And someone ran over Tippy and killed her. And Brownie just was devastated. And I still remember the look on that dog's face when Tippy was died, the sadness. And I was already devastated. And then me having to go to school and being so upset over my dog dying. And people just don't really understand when your pet dies. They still don't. There's a lot of people that don't have any, sympathy or enough sympathy for people who lose pets. Because when I love deep, and I love those dogs immensely. I think they were my first loves, those two dogs. They were just so cute together. And I realized early on, too, that animals grieve deeply. And Brownie was, like I said, he was just a mongrel, and he was a stray, but he was the most devoted dog. And Tippy was just, oh God, I just loved her. And I just remember laying down watching Ultraman on TV before I got ready for school, and my dad pulling up and saying Tippy passed away. Someone ran over, and I cried and cried while I was getting ready for school. And my mom ended up taking her out to, there's a place called Andy's Creek where my dad grew up playing, and it was kind of a family place. And she took her out there and buried her. She buried her herself. Actually, I think my dad buried her at lunchtime. I take that back. But when I got home, she was already gone. I had seen her run over, and because I had to go see it for myself. But that was just horrible, and it kind of made me fearful of having animals run loose at that point. We'd had several stray cats as well. We had this beautiful stray cat named Tiger, who was the most sweet and cuddly cat. Beautiful blue eyes, blue-green eyes, beautiful gray fur with stripes. And she had several kittens. Hey! Kira! My kitty's playing with my arm. Sorry, speaking of pets, did you hear her hiss at me? Oh my. She's playing. Ouch! I love my fur babies. She just got in trouble. I'm leaving that in. I guess she was jealous about the other cats. I don't know. Sorry, baby girl, but don't bite daddy. I wonder, I'm going to have to listen to this back to hear if you can hear her hiss at me. She was playing with my arm and I moved it. She didn't like that. But we had this cat named Tiger who was the sweetest, gentle cat, and she got pregnant and had a litter of kittens. And I think she had them in the duck house. She crawled in Chi-Chi's house. And Chi-Chi, she got along with Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi let her have his house, and she had, I believe, 3 kittens in that litter on my nephew Jason's birthday. My nephew Jason was born on March 31st, 1975, the same day Tiger had her kittens, and I've told Jason this story. Ever since, my sister had Jason the same day, approximately the same time, I believe, as Tiger had her kittens. So there was a little tan kitten that we kept named Frisky, and there was a gray kitten that we gave away that I loved, the gray kitten, he was named Joe, and then there was another cat, and I really don't remember that one as well. It's kind of foggy what happened to the other cat. My sister Cindy probably would remember. But I was more upset at Joe being given away, but we couldn't keep him. My dad said no. So when we did keep Frisky, we were allowed to keep one, and we had Frisky and Tiger got pregnant again and had him under the neighbor's barn. That's what I was thinking of a while ago. And they all got sick, including her. They got distemper, and we had to have them all put down. They were all very ill, which was horrible because Tiger actually was very sick and knew she couldn't take care of them and brought them one by one to my mom and dropped them at her feet. And my mom tried to take care of them, and they were just too sick. So that was another tragedy in our pet life early on in my life, and that was before Barney. So that was in the mid-70s probably. Frisky also contracted distemper, and Frisky died actually. So it was very sad. And then we had a feral cat named Black and White, beautiful cat that came into our lives. That was a stray. I don't know where he came from, but we opened the door and he ran in the house and went insane. Was jumping all over everything. We had to chase him out. But he hung around the house and we fed him, and eventually he got kind of tame. And that was around the time of Barney. I might have had Barney already then, but he was a beautiful black and white cat. I digress. I didn't say Brownie ended up hanging out at an old man's house, and the guy was lonesome, and he adopted Brownie and let him come in the house and took him when he moved. So he was never really ours, but he was. So we didn't say anything. He was better off with the old man, you know. He was a good companion for the guy. So anyway, my first official dog, black and white cat named Sylvester, that was the aforementioned feral cat. I honestly don't remember what happened to Sylvester. I think he just disappeared one day. Again, we couldn't have him in the house. I'm probably forgetting a pet or two. We had a white cat with a green and a blue eye named Snowball that ended up passing away as well. I don't think it's good to keep animals outside. I think that just decreases their lifespan. The modern me does not like pets outside. I just don't like it. They get hurt, obviously. Brownie, okay, in 1978, our local newspaper, the Southern Illinois, used to feature a pet of the week, and would feature, it's Kira, sorry. Podcasting with my cat by me she's a little frisky. I will be discussing her later. I love my Kira, even though she's being rotten right now. The Southern Illinois used to feature a pet of the week, and they would feature the dogs in the Humane Society every week that were up for adoption. And one week there was this I wanted a beagle because I just love beagles. And I thought they were great. I loved Snoopy, actually. I had in mind of Snoopy because I'm a big Charlie Brown fan. And I wanted a beagle because of Snoopy. Of course, there are rarely black and white beetles. But I saw this little beagle featured, and I fell in love. And I said, Mom and Dad, can we get a dog? And my sister, poor Cindy, I was so spoiled. It took me begging and her begging to get this dog. But it wasn't until I wanted one did we not get one. I see why my sisters say was a little spoiled, but I was the baby. And boys need a dog. I think that's what my parents were thinking. So I grieved so hard over Tippy. And I think my parents realized how much I loved animals too. Cindy was just natural at it. I mean, she is, to this day, the animals just attract to her. She's like my dad. My dad could make birds. He could feed a bird standing right by him. My dad had that natural attraction to animals, or attraction to him. But we went I don't remember where the Humane Society was. I want to say Jackson County somewhere at that time. And there that dog was. Nobody had adopted him. And he picked us. He wanted us. He jumped up and down. The other cat, he was knocking the other puppies over to get to us. And I said, that's him. And the lady said, that's the one you want. And I said, that's him. He's Barney. I already had him named. I named him Barney when I saw him. And she said, he looks like a Barney to me. So we adopted him and we brought him home, and I let him stay in the house with me. I was very scared to let him run loose because I did not want him to get run over like Tippy. I was very overprotective. And for the first few days, he slept by me, and we watched cartoons. And like the third day, he growled at me, and I don't know why, but he wanted outside. So I thought, okay, I'll let you outside. Well, he took off running, and we couldn't find him. And I was just thinking he was going to get run over. It was terrible. And settle down. And finally we caught him. And this dog would do this over and over. So my dad made him a separation in the duck pen and made him his own little space and built him a house. And he got his own, because I said he wouldn't let us have him in the house. But he loved it outside. He had his pen, and he was an outside dog. He did not like it in the house at all. As a matter of fact, he threw up. Hated it in the warm house. I think sometimes beagles are outside dogs. But he was half dachshund as well. He was a half wiener dog. I should bring that up. So we let him out, and he loved it out there. He was very much an outdoor dog. And him and Chi-Chi lived in harmony from 1978 till Chi-Chi died in 1983. And they were buddies. It was funny. And talking about Chi-Chi eating turkey, we'd get Barney a bowl of, leftover food and put it close to Chi-Chi's pen, and Chi-Chi would peck through the pen and eat some with Barney. They had no aggression towards each other whatsoever. They grew up together. And I do have pictures of me and Barney and Chi-Chi, and I have a picture of me holding Sylvester. I used to have a picture of Snowball, the black and green-eyed cat. I don't have pictures of Frisky, and I take that back. I think we might have a picture of Cindy holding Frisky. But, back in those days, you didn't take pictures just willy-nilly. It was expensive, and you had to get it developed, and and now you got instant pictures on your phone. It's so much nicer. But after Barney died, he actually had gotten loose and gone crazy again and disappeared for a few days, and he come back with a big old knot on his head, and he wasn't acting right. And it was Christmas time once again, and Barney died December 27th, 1987, 2 days after Christmas in 1987. And I was 20. I just had turned 20. No, I'm sorry, I was 21 when he passed. That's right. I had just turned 21. And he lasted through my childhood. Lasted from the time he lasted almost 10 years. I was 11, I think, when we got him. He died when I was 21. Again, I swore after that I would never, ever, ever have pets. I said, nope, we cried too much. I didn't even want to look at him dead. It's something I had feared, and I swore off pets, so I'll never have one ever again. They just break my heart. I'm that way with a lot of things. I do not like feeling bad. I do not like having a heart broken. But I still love animals, but I just could not have a pet of my own. I kind of put a block up. And at 21, I had other interests, and I just did not try to get attached to any animals. And that went on for a long time. Well, I'm going to take a break, and we'll talk about how I met my current cats and all kinds of stuff. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast. From my head to your ears, I shall return momentarily. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast From My Head to Your Ears. And I'm podcasting with two of my cats currently laying on my chest. And now they're fighting on my chest. This is why I try to podcast without the cats in here. Oh, the joys and thrills of being a pet owner. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my Furbabies. That's Kira. And that's her mother, actually. She's fighting with her mother, Nacho. You cannot capture these moments. I don't know if you can hear that. Like I said, when I listen back to my recording, I will hear if you hear that. How could you not hear that? That was loud. But I was talking about the pets I had in the 1970s, and I did not have another pet until I was an adult. And I had a house, and my sister lived with me, and I was like, no pets. And she brought at home a dog named Socks. That they named Socks. And I was like, no, until I met him and he licked my hand, and I was like, okay. So he was an adorable dog. He was just a mess. And that's what I like. I like dogs with a lot of character. And I love animals with a lot of character. I just don't like any old animal, even though I love animals, but I don't. Let me rephrase that. I wouldn't want a cat in my life that had no personality, or a dog. So they got to have some kind of distinctive personality. When I know the one for me. So Socks was definitely a character, and my nephews loved him. She had 3 little boys that lived in my house as well. And at first, and then anyway, long story short, Socks, someone poisoned him with antifreeze when he was outside, and because she let him outside when she went to work. And he died. And it was horrible. Again, everybody cried. It was awful. I never had a successful pet. Well, I guess Barney and Chi-Chi were longtime pets. That was a sordid story, I guess, wasn't it? But my sister moved out. My nephews moved out. And I was by myself. And there was this cat that I named Stevie after one of my customers because she was a little pest. Like my customer was. He was a lovable pest, and so was she. And I fed her every day, and I named her, and everybody's like, take her home. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. And one of the local people brought her to my house, and I live a mile down the road, straight down the road at this point from my store. And that cat, when he let her out of the cage, she took off and went back to the store and was waiting for me at the store when I got to work that night. So my store was her home. Eventually we found a home for her, and someone took her. And I just had to take a moment to remember Stevie. She was a sweetheart. And I think I have a picture of her somewhere in my photo albums somewhere. But eventually I moved out of my house and had to move back to my parents' house. And my father was ailing, and my mom was taking care of him. And it just so happened my house was in bad shape and I needed to move back home anyway to help with Dad and later with Mom. So you go where God leads you, and that's where I was led to. And my dad passed away in 2016, and it was the worst thing I could ever imagine happening to me. Something I knew would happen eventually, but you never are prepared for losing someone you love that much. Even if you know it's coming, when it actually happens, it's just devastating. And I did everything I could to alleviate the feeling of grief. I walked miles, and I think I've told that story in another podcast, but this little black and white cat that my sister noticed outside her window, the neighbors had left her behind when they moved, and she was just this little beautiful black and white kitten that would sit up in the tree and look at my sister. And my sister talked about her all the time. And one day, the little black and white cat came to my house, and I petted her one time. And she decided I was hers. And she followed me everywhere. And I, of course, would feed her. And I was dealing with my mom, who was beginning her journey with Alzheimer's. And things were not great because I was grieving still. And I would go on my walks, and the little kitty would wait on me, and she'd follow me a little ways, and she'd come home, and she'd be back when I waited on her. And one cold particular night, Dad died in May, so this happened during the warm months. One particular cold night later in the year, I heard a bang at the door, and I opened the door, and the little black and white cat ran and jumped on the couch where my mom slept and curled up and went to sleep. And I'm like, oh boy. And I was raised not to have animals in the house, and I didn't know what to do, and I really didn't have time for a cat, and it really wasn't my house. I didn't feel like it was my mom's. So I picked her up gently, and I put her back outside, and I felt awful. That little cat was cold, and I just did not like it, because I'd already kind of had an affection for her, and I was like, oh. So eventually she'd keep trying, and eventually I thought, my mom said just let her stay. So she wasn't hurting anything, so we let her in, and I named her Psycho because she would just stare at me. One day she brought me a huge squirrel, dead squirrel, and dropped at my feet, a little gift that I had to go bury. And I named her Psycho, and I was like, I would do Snapchats of her and put the Psycho music on because she'd just stare. And when she's outside, she'd get up and she'd just stare at me. So eventually there was a video of a girl who did a video she had these big old crazy eyes, and she was trying to say Justin Bieber was her girlfriend. Does he have a song called Girlfriend? But anyway, she's saying, I'll be your girlfriend. And it kind of became a famous meme with her big eyes, and I thought, that's what I'm going to call that cat, is Girlfriend. My neighbors had a different name for her, but I called her Girlfriend. She was kind of the neighborhood cat, really, but I love that cat. And she kept having litters of kittens at the neighbor's house, and those kittens would all wander to my house. And eventually, I'm not sure, I think my neighbor kept a lot of them, but gave some away or whatever happened to the cats. Eventually, Girlfriend came into my house in Christmas time of 2017. And she stayed more and more, and she got pregnant at Christmas 2017. And by March, she was big and pregnant, and I let her in, and she ate, and I forgot she was in there, and a couple of days later, I thought, where's she at? And there she was. So she'd been in my house for a couple of days, and with work and whatever, I didn't even notice it. And she would appear and disappear. And we figured out eventually when we heard little meows that she had given birth into my front bedroom that we didn't use. It was kind of a junk collector's room. And we found them in the closet. And there was 4 of them. And my niece had come home for Easter at this point. And they were a little bigger, so she picked them up and brought them out, and they were so cute. And they were born in my house, and girlfriend loved those cats. And she just took good care of them. They were healthy, they were warm, they were safe. And eventually they wandered out of the house, and I knew I had the daunting task of finding owners for them, and a couple of my coworkers expressed interest. So as soon as they were weaned, I gave 2 away. And one, is oddly enough, they called her Psycho. And the other one, I absolutely loved and would have kept, but I didn't think I could keep these kittens. So I had Girlfriend, and that was enough. So, we gave Psycho away, and I called the little kitty Buster Brown, and he was real feisty, much like Kira. By the way, I have scratches all over my hand. She was playing rough with me. And I gave Buster Brown away. They named him Negan, and unfortunately, the people I gave him away to, the lady that I worked with was very nice, but her husband was a complete jerk and crazy asshole, and I hope, sorry, this is a G-rated podcast, but anybody that hurts animals, children, or old people, they're a total scum in my eyes. And he tortured that cat, and before I could even react to it, the cat died. The cat died on the same day Girlfriend gave birth to her last litter, and they all passed away. They all passed away that morning, and Negan / Buster Brown died that evening, and I was very hurt. But back to this story, we gave those 2 away, and I kept this little orange and brown tabby kitty, maybe orange and gray. I'm never quite sure what color she is. She was very attracted to me. She adopted me much like her mama, and she was so tiny, and I would bring her in my room, and we'd take naps, and I'd play the Xanadu soundtrack, and she loved it. She'd purr, and we'd take little naps in the afternoon. I think I worked midnight still at that point, so I'd take my afternoon naps. And I just decided, I said, I can't give her away. She was kind of the run of the litter, too. And I named her Olivia, after Olivia Newton-John. Eventually I called her Livy, and that's how Livy came to stay. Well, I still had the other kitty, and I didn't name him. And my niece, there was a guy that I knew, and my niece expressed interest. Well, I thought, okay, I'll keep him for my niece, and she can take him back to Wisconsin when they come home for the 4th of July. So I kept him, and I got really attached to him, to the point of, oh my gosh, I don't want to give him away. And one day, they made me mad, and I swatted them, both of them. Well, when I say swat, I got a little love pat on the butt, because they both did something ornery, which I don't remember. And they got out of the house, and I couldn't find them. And my neighbor found Livy, and she had gone across the street, but I could not find the other kitty. And I was so upset. And it went on for a day. We couldn't find him. I thought, well, he had this cute little mew, like that. And I called him Little Mew Mew. That was his name at first. And I went to feed Girlfriend and Livy, and there he was. Apparently, he had crawled on top of the cabinet where I couldn't see him. He never did get loose. I thought he got loose with Livy, but Livy many times since has gotten loose. But I decided I can't give him away, and at about the same time my niece says I can't have him. So I thought, what am I going to name him? So I named him Sonny after the movie Xanadu's leading man, played by, I can't remember his name. Xanadu's one of my favorite movies. But anyway, I named him after Sonny Malone, the lead character in Xanadu. And I love how my brain shuts off sometimes because I know that name. But anyway, he was named after the lead character in Xanadu, named Sonny. So I had Sonny and Livy, and they're just rotten little mischievous kitties. Sonny likes to knock stuff over, and Livy likes to escape. Livy will escape and run up the neighbor's tree, and all the way to the top. And I've about killed myself trying to get her back in the house. I still, to this day, remember Tippy getting run over, and I do not like my animals outside. I just don't. They stayed in the house. Livy and Sonny were born in this house. They've not ever known anything other than being in this house. This house is their world, and I am their dad, and that's all they've known. And girlfriend is their mom. So it came time that I decided it's time to get these little babies spayed and neutered, and I had a lot of help from friends. One of my coworkers and my other mom, Wilma's son, Mark, helped pay for me to get girlfriend fixed. So we took her. That poor cat. She thought I was getting rid of her. She was such a survivor. We took her to a place in Murfreesboro to have her fixed, and they just kept her for the afternoon. They fix her, and then you come pick them up. But that poor little kitty was so upset. She threw up and pooed herself and had a big old mess, diarrhea, and just was so upset. And then when we come to get her, she was so thrilled. And that was horrible. I didn't like leaving her. And then the next one I had fixed was Sonny. And my friend Joni had helped me with him. And took him, and with males, they just hold him for the afternoon. And we took him to the Cesar Animal Clinic, and he got fixed and brought him home, and he handled it quite well. Well, next was Livy, and that was the hard one because I paid for that one, and we took her to the Cesar Animal Clinic, and they had to keep her overnight, and that was a problem because she loves me and has never been away from me and never been out of this house, and it was horrible on Dad. But they kept her, and I had to work the next day, so my friend Amber Kilman went and got her for me, and she was crying so hard, the kitty was, that she had to stop by the store and let her see me. And Livy was so glad to see me, and Amber brought her to the house, and when I got home, she was by my side. She handled it well, too, when I got home. But that was so hard, letting her go for a night. So I had my 3 babies fixed, and I've had quite a few adventures with them over the years. Livy, mostly, she's just, oh my God, she gets out the door, and you can't get her back in the house. And like I said, she's climbed on the neighbor's roof. She climbed on top of trees. Oh my gosh. She got on the neighbor's garage, and I had to get her down. I've about broke my neck trying to get her down. She just, once she goes outside, she does not want to come back in, and I don't know why she's that way, but she's got that little wild streak like her mama. Now, girlfriend comes and goes as she pleases. She's an outdoor cat. She raised herself outside. She always comes back. I don't worry about her. She has survived outside on her own since she was a kid. Very resourceful, very tough cat, and my neighborhood loves her. Everybody in this neighborhood loves girlfriend. There's not one person that doesn't love that cat. I think my neighbors call her Fancy Butt or Fancy Pants. Everybody's got a name for her, Patches. But just a beautiful black and white cat. So over the years, I had these cats, and I had 3 cats, and that was enough, and I was happy. And then one day, this little cat, Nacho, shows up. Now, I called her Nacho later. There's a circumstance behind that, but I thought it was a funny name, because I would say Nacho Kitty. That's Nacho Kitty. I also call her Nacho Cheesio, but she lived in the bushes outside my house, and I wanted to bring her in, but she just didn't want to. She was scared, and she got pregnant and had a litter outside of I made her a little house for her to have the kittens, and she had them, and she had, let me think, she had 6 kittens, 1 yellow one, and the rest were the same, similar colored as she was, the same color as Livy, oddly enough. Matter of fact, I had chased Livy a couple of times and grabbed Nacho and brought her in thinking she was Livy, because my eyes were that bad. But Livy, Livy and Sunny would watch her outside, and Sunny had a crush on her. They were fascinated with that little kitty. And she had a litter. And then I was faced with the terrible task of giving them away. The little yellow kitty passed. I wanted to keep... I love yellow orange cats. I love them dearly. But it wasn't meant to be. She passed, but the other 5 kittens were healthy. And I kept them on the porch, and Nacho developed infected teat, and I almost killed her, but she had to quit feeding the kitties, but they were weaned at that point. So I found a taker for 2 of the kitties, and I said, when they're completely weaned, I'll let you get them. So he came to pick 2 of the kitties out, and there was one little kitten that I fell in love with immediately after the yellow one. She had looked just like Nacho, at least her Nacho has an orange Cheeto on her head. It's like a moon-shaped orange spot. And this other little kitty had a flame, like it's the same orange spot, but it's like a flame, but she looked just like Nacho other than the misplaced spot. It was like her twin. And I wanted to keep her so bad, and I almost gave her away, but I was like, no, keep her. And then we gave the 2 away to an older man, and everybody had stray cats. Nobody wanted the cats. So I had a babysitter who was like, you got to give those cats away. She was right, Jackie. I should not have those cats. They are the poopinest cats I've ever seen. They're poo-poo kitties. But eventually they kept trying to get in the house, much to the disdain of Livy. Sunny was a little more gentle, but Livy just hates these kittens. And once you name the cats, they're yours. And eventually I named the little cat with the flame mark on her head. I named her Miss Kitty, real original, but I didn't like that name. And the other 2, I was like, I'm giving them away. I'm not naming them. Eventually, Miss Kitty became Bitsy May after Olivia Newton-John again. I just kept that trend going. I named Miss Kitty after the character she played in the Del Shores movie, Sordid Lives, Bitsy May Harlan. So her name is Bitsy May. And then the other girl, Kitty, was the little run of the family once again, just like Livy. And I thought, well, I can't name her Livy. So I named her Kira after Olivia's character in Xanadu. It was either Kira or Terpsichore, the actual name of the muse Olivia played. But I didn't like that name, so Kira stuck. So she's Kira. Now, what do I name the male cat? I'm out of Xanadu names. I can't name him Danny after Gene Kelly's character because my nephew's named Danny. So I thought, well, what am I going to name him? I could have named him Xanadu, but I didn't think I wanted to name my cat Xanadu. So I went second, either name him after my friend Lou Jaton, which I could have named him Louie, but I don't think Lou likes us being called Louie. So I didn't name him Louie, but I thought, who's my other favorite? Chris Isaac. So I named him Isaac. So now here comes Kira, Isaac, and Bitsy May, and Nacho still was outside, but her kittens were inside, and Livy and Sunny. Livy did not, and to this day does not accept these kittens. She's a little more gentle with them. She did not like them invading her territory, but Sunny was more loving, and him and Bitsy May have developed an attraction. I won a lottery to get... I won a contest from a local animal, friends of the Humane Society, who gave away free neuters, and I got Isaac neutered. So I don't have to this day Nacho, Bitsy May, and Kira neutered, but I keep them in the house. And with Sunny and Isaac neutered, there's no danger of them getting pregnant. They don't have any desire to go outside. I think Bitsy May got out one time and she never did it again. It scared her. But Nacho was my holdover. She still was outside. She was still in the danger of getting pregnant, and she would not come in. And Christmas time of 2021, my sister had opened the door and she ran in while I was at work and never left. She moved into the front bedroom, and to this day, Nacho lives... Well, she doesn't really live in the front bedroom. She comes out. She's still sort of antisocial. There's a little bit of feral cat to her, but she still does not get along with any of the kittens and cats except for she likes Sonny, but she hisses at him. But Bitsy May's her baby, and her and Bitsy May have a cute relationship, and they're close. And that's the only kid. Her and Kira just clash. That's what you were hearing earlier. So anyway, that's the story of my fur babies. And I loved... Ask me about my cats. I will talk all day. This is one of the longest podcasts I have ever done. And I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to wrap this up. And thank you for listening to the stories of my animals. I love talking about my animals. I love my animals. I love my cats. I'll be right back. I'm Leonard Riggs. This is From My Head to Your Ears. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast From My Head to Your Ears, and I've been talking about my fur babies and all the fur babies I've had in my life, and I could talk all day about them. I love my animals. They're such wonderful companions, and I'm glad they're in my life, even though they're messy and sometimes mean and all the things animals can be, but at the end of the day, I am so thankful my cats are loving for the most part, and they love me. I have no doubt in my mind. And they've helped me get through a lot of grief, and they keep my mom company. They love my mom. A lot of times they'll sleep with her. Girlfriend comes in, and girlfriend even had a litter on my mom's feet. She loves my mom. Other than me, she has always been attracted to my mom. She will sleep with my mom when she comes in. And it's the sweetest thing ever. I know I've got some grief coming with my mom. I know that her time is coming soon. And I'm glad I have my cats. And a lot of people criticize me for having so many animals, but they have filled a spot in my heart that it took this many to fill the hole. I can't have any more animals at this point, even though I still feel sorry for animals outside, that I've reached my quota. There is no more room in the inn for any more animals. But I am so glad for my animals. I love my cats. And I'm going to wrap this up because I really talked too long. Thank you for listening. I love you guys. I love all the compliments I get about my podcast. I'm glad you don't find me boring. I still think of the guy who said, what possibly could you have to talk about? And here I am, well into my 50s episodes. I'm glad that I can podcast. It's so cool. And sorry I had to take a little break. I've had some issues with my boss. She's been in the hospital, and she's on the mend. And again, she kind of inspired this podcast, as did my friend Bill, from the loss of their pets, and I realize how much our pets mean to us. And I can talk all day, and I do to my customers. Sometimes we get to talk about animals, and I love all kinds of animals, and I probably left some out, but anyway, thank you for listening. I'm Leonard Riggs. This is From My Head to Your Ears, and I'll be back in a little while with another podcast, so stay tuned. Thank you for listening.